Cool.
So I am delighted to be here live with the amazing Harriet Waley-Cohen, and I can't wait to dive in with Harriet and get her talking all about how you can conquer your inner world to have everything that you want. And this is an amazing, amazing interview that I'm going to be doing, and you guys definitely don't want to miss what we're going to be talking about today, because we're going to crush your self-doubt. Is that a good way of talking about it? Yes, we're going to crush that self-doubt and and shift into being unstoppable in the next half an hour. So if you guys are just joining us and you're tuning in now, please just pop in and say hi in the comments. Let us know who you are, where you're from, and if you're excited about becoming unstoppable, let us know that as well, and we'll kick in. And yeah, just so hi to guys who are arriving. I can see a few people arriving already. Just let us know you're here. But let's dive in anyway, Harriet.
Brilliant.
So now I like, obviously I've got to know you over the last few years, and also got to know how amazing you are and the amazing work that you do. But obviously my audience don't know you yet. So just for the guys that are listening, if you're wondering who Harriet is an incredible mindset mentor. She used to be in investments, and now what you do is you really help women leaders to be able to overcome their self-doubt, overcome their fears, overcome anything that's holding them back, and really step into who they're meant to be in their work. You have won numerous awards as well. I should just mention, if anyone's listening, Harriet is the queen of awards when it comes to speaking, and
I've got them on the shelf in front of me just in case. Do you know what? If anyone's out there, this is a great way. If ever I'm sitting there and I'm like, do I know what I'm doing? And I'm like, oh, shelf full of awards. I obviously do know what I'm
doing. Absolutely. And the thing is, I know some people listening in might be thinking, oh wow, I'd love to become a speaker and to get paid for my speaking. And Harriet actually does, and she gets paid a lot of money to speak at a lot of big companies, Microsoft, Sky, the list goes on. So I am delighted to have you here, Harriet, and I can't wait to get stuck into our interview. But I'd love you, if you just wanted to share a couple of sentences about yourself that I haven't covered in introducing you, that would be great.
Yeah. So the thing that I'm really passionate about, in fact, I declared war last year on the not good enough epidemic, because I know we're in a pandemic, so it might sound really dramatic, but I think there's a major problem out there with people not feeling good enough. And it's definitely not just a female thing. And so that's my big vision, is to create a world where it doesn't occur to women that they or their bodies aren't good enough, where they know, accept and celebrate their true value, their true potential, and then fulfill it. So that's really sums it up what I'm all about.
Absolutely. And I mean, oh my goodness, like, women are often so self-critical, it's unreal, and will hold back from putting themselves forward, when actually people absolutely adore it when they actually do kind of go forwards with their ideas. Everyone's like, wow, that's amazing, but for some reason we often think that it's never good enough.
There's tons of research as well, even when you look at things like the Dove Global Survey of how women feel about their bodies, that shows that when girls and women are having a fat day, or don't like how they look, or think, don't like their bodies, they don't give their opinion, they don't push themselves forward, they don't apply for promotions, they don't stand up for themselves. So I've often said, having a fat day is like being in an abusive relationship. But and this, when you extrapolate that out, it's not just about our bodies and how we look, although that's really fundamental, because that's something that we're confronted with the entire time. And if you don't feel good about that, then that's going to creep into a lot of other areas. But just this thing of not feeling good enough is, it's awful, the impact that it has. And also there's an awful lot, I think, of slightly unethical industries that boom off the back of this. When you
Absolutely.
think how much money people would save, there would be whole industries that would go out of business if people felt good enough. And I
Absolutely.
think what people did with their time would change as well. I think the amount of energy
Yeah.
people spend on that, just thinking about it and worrying about it and everything. And if all that energy and time and brain space could be put towards something else, it would be amazing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So obviously most of my audience are business owners, but a lot of them are also working with people who are professionals who have different issues like not feeling good enough as well. So actually everything you're saying relates. But specifically for business owners, what do you see as being kind of the main problems or issues that they often have with their mindset that holds them back?
I think that there's definitely a thing where people think they're not ready. So people think when my website is finished, or when I've done another 23 courses, or when this, then I can put myself out there. So they hold themselves back from promoting or thinking that where they are at right now is good
Absolutely.
enough, or attractive enough to bring business in. So I think that's the thing. And I think that as entrepreneurs as well, people who run their own businesses, it can be really hard for people to realize just how important it is to take care of yourself. And I know, people have been banging the self-care drum for a long time, but I do think in lockdown, we've all realized, haven't we, to an even greater extent, that if you don't have your energy and your well-being, you've got nothing. You can't give.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it's so easy when you're running your own business to work all hours of day or night, to be checking your emails, to be boundaryless basically. And it's not good. It's not good for us, and we don't serve as well when we're doing that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So there's really something you're touching on here about the, not feeling good enough, and then also the not having enough boundaries, and then the taking care of yourself and making space for your needs. Sounds like they're
Yes,
all kind of connected. I'm just wondering if you want to say a bit more about that, because it's
they're
like going into
definitely
a rabbit hole
connected.
and suddenly the whole is
Yeah, they're
connected.
definitely all connected, because I think when you come from that place of thinking you're not good enough, then that will show up in lots of different ways. So you might push extra hard, and work and work and work. You might think, because you don't feel good enough, think you don't deserve to be taken care of, or you might need validation through success in order to feel, to fix that feeling on the inside. And so you don't take care of yourself, or you're desperately chasing, always putting other people's needs, whether that's your clients or family or whoever. Everyone comes before you. So it does it all ties in. And then of course the not feeling good enough, or feeling like an imposter, that part of not feeling good enough, can prevent people from having a successful business as well. So it's a bit like one of those whack-a-mole things, you pop down that bit and then that bit comes up. But the underlying thing is always this: how you feel about yourself.
Absolutely. And actually, with the imposter syndrome, what I see with some of my clients as well is that even when they have some really great successes, like they gain some clients, they, overcome things that they were afraid of doing, they're sort of just dismissing of that success. It's like it just chuck it away, and it's like, just take a moment to actually appreciate what you've actually done, and it's like, so even when you start having some success, if you don't feel good enough, you have that imposter syndrome, you just dismiss any success you have. So you're almost like stuck in that continual kind of negative self-talk place.
Yeah, because people will obsess about the things that have gone wrong, or the next
Yeah.
level to go to, which is a part of the way that the more toxic side of perfectionism plays into this as well, which is something I speak about quite often. Is that, well, actually, I don't think that all people who don't feel good enough are perfectionists, but I'm very sure that all perfectionists don't feel good enough. Yeah, and that aspect of, there's always another level to get to. It's like, yeah, whatever, I lost 10 pounds, there's another 10 to lose, or I shaved however many minutes off my running time, I will now, okay, next level, next level, next level. And on a business sense, it's, well, so what that I had my first 20k month or whatever, or I signed up 5 clients, on to the next thing, more. And that mindset means that you can never feel good enough, because you're not stopping to admire the view, and you're not giving yourself credit.
So if we're to change that kind of behavior, if someone's listening, I'm just going to say hi to all the people that are listening, because hi Graham and Nancy and Asif and the others that are joining us, and just please do say hi to us as well, and put in who, say your name and say hi.
Yes, hello everybody.
We do want to engage with you guys that are listening in. But if you are struggling with those kind of imposter syndrome feelings and not feeling good enough, and you recognize yourself sort of dismissing any successes that you have, where can people start to overcome this? What can they do? And guys, actually listen to this, because I know if you're like me, you take in the information and you just go, yeah. But we'll actually stop and listen to it.
Right. So it's one of the things that I always say on any webinar or in-person talk I'm giving. It's all well and good sitting and listening to me or to anyone for half an hour and going, oh, that was nice, but you do actually have to put things into practice if you want things to change. So one of the first things that is really crucial is to raise your self-awareness, because if you're not even aware that those thoughts are sabotaging you or holding you back, then you've got no chance of overcoming them. So methods that I use that help me are things like meditation and journaling, and just pausing to question my thoughts and going, really I shouldn't put that out because I've, my hair looks a bit frizzy, really? What's that got to do with it? So when you can learn to stop thinking really that every thought that flies through your head is the truth, and question it, and decide what to keep and what to discard, that's very powerful. And also focus on your strengths, focus on your achievements, and focus on behaviors that help you feel really good about yourself, because there will be things that might make you feel worse about yourself. And in fact, I talk about this when I talk about, taking ownership of the volume dial for your inner critic. And all behaviors will either make it louder or quieter. And once you know what those things are, and there might be, I don't know, people you follow on social media, it could be someone you went to school with who you haven't seen in 20 years, who seems to be better off than you, go on better holidays, and whose home always looks tidier than yours, and they're always boasting about, how amazing their children are or how wonderful their partner is, and you're like, why isn't my life like that? Well, my question is, why are you even following this person? If every time you see that, or it could be a celebrity, or it could be a diet influencer, or it could be someone else in your industry who you think is doing better in business than you are, whatever it is, if every time you see their thing, it gives you that sinking feeling that you're not good enough, that you then give yourself a really hard time and just stop doing that to yourself. And I do think that there is a real element of what I delightfully call radical personal responsibility with this, where we're not victims, we're adults. We're definitely not victims of what we eat, what we wear, who's in our life, what we consume in terms of media. And it's our job to make all of that stuff make us feel better about ourselves, not worse about ourselves. So we have to kind of, parent ourselves a bit better in that regard, and then shift our focus. Shift your focus on what is going well. It's that old saying, isn't it? If you measure a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's always going to feel stupid. So
that's a really good one. I like that. I think that's such a helpful, and both the tips are really, really helpful, but I really love what you're saying about taking that radical personal responsibility around the thoughts you think and the behaviors you have that actually reinforce you not feeling good enough and not feeling good about yourself. Because I think, a lot of us can relate to you know, to doing certain things that we know actually make ourselves feel worse. It's almost like a slight addiction. You know, we're going to spend a bit of time watching the Kardashians, which is like a kind of bit of a guilty pleasure, and then kind of look in the mirror and kind of go, you know, and you're like thinking, well, actually I'm comparing myself by something that's quite unrealistic and that's been touched up. And
so someone that's had an awful lot of surgery, nutritionists, personal trainers, facials, makeup artists, editing. I wouldn't even compare myself to, if I had all of that going on. Can you imagine comparing yourself first thing in the morning to your, you know, your publicity shots? You'd feel crap too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it can be even as simple as, I mean, I know when I come on Zoom that I'm always really conscious that I actually have to make a bit of an effort. And I've got curly hair like you have, Harriet. And
do you straighten yours? You must straighten yours.
This is blow dried, right?
Oh, okay.
So it's the equivalent of straightening. It's like like, because it's practically an afro, and I'm really proud of my hair and I do love it, but I do think that I look a bit like Teddy Ruxpin in the mornings when it's curly. And everyone else loves it apart from me.
The thing is, I do think that when you've got curly hair and you live in this country where it rains so much and it's so damp, you have a harsh lesson in not being perfectionist from a very, very young age, because you just never have sleek, calm, you know, flicky hair. You just don't. It just.
And I think, you know, I think I took in as a kid, the fashion was all this very straight hair when I was a kid and I was growing up. And everyone was sort of like having fringes and things. And obviously with sort of afro kind of style hair, you can't have a fringe, and I cut myself a fringe. And you can imagine it used
and it just went
blow up in the wind. It was like this boing, had this little halo above me. So I think as an adult, I now still have this thing of, you know, I have to sort of try and make it look neat. Do you know? Whereas actually, when I love your hair. I think it's beautiful. And so now when I look at you, I can almost see what other people are saying to me about retaining that kind of curly look. So
well, I don't know, mine's a bit wild at the moment.
I love it.
So I did send I sent a message to my hairdresser about a week ago saying, have you got any appointments in about a month's time? And then a couple of days later, I sent another one going, correction, it's completely out of control. What's the soonest you can see me?
Absolutely. No, I know that feeling. But I mean, obviously I'm giving a really sort of light-hearted example. You know, it's not something I feel, you know, really bad about, but it is that kind of thing of often we take stuff in, isn't it, when we're younger, and we don't realize how it's actually influencing us as an adult. And then when we become a business owner and it's like, you know, your business is you.
Yeah.
It can be a big sort of shock, because suddenly you're putting yourself out there and it feels really vulnerable. Whereas you might have been selling someone else's products for donkey's years and that was fine, but suddenly you're selling yourself and it's like, oh my God, there's this
when you are your brand and it's your neck, your reputation, and actually the success of your business does depend on what people think of you. Every new client is a person, you know, is a validation for who you are, what you represent, your knowledge, experience, and what you have to offer. But at the same time, every rejection, knockback, or not so great month doesn't mean something detrimental about your worth. And the ability to bounce back from those sorts of things, and you know, again, the mindfulness over our thoughts and noticing what painful and probably untrue meanings that we attach to things that don't go well is really important. Because, you know, when you imagine children in the classroom, when they get something wrong, no one says, you're a failure, you're stupid, no one's ever going to listen to you again. They're like, oh, let me show you, you know, it's a learning moment. Yet when we become adults, we forget that when we get things wrong, it's a learning moment, and that actually we got where we are today by learning. And we think we've got to know it all, and we mustn't show that we don't know, or that we ever get things wrong, or any of that. Whereas, you know, I do share quite often about all the ways in which my life is chaotic, or has been chaotic, or hasn't been perfect, because I think that's really important for people to see. And interestingly enough, when you portray online or anywhere in your business, to be honest, or on stage, an image of complete perfection and as though you know everything and you've got it all sorted, people can't connect with you.
Yeah.
That actually will prevent you from having success. Whereas when you show who you really are, the right people will connect with that, and they will connect with your humanity, your life journey, all that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm a big believer in oh God, it just sounds so cliche, doesn't it? But in being authentic rather than perfect.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So what I'm hearing from you is something about being willing to be vulnerable and allowing yourself to be someone who learns through making mistakes, as opposed to having to get it right every time. That actually the mistake can be a pathway to what you really want.
Yeah. And the mistakes don't mean I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Whereas it can be very easy to make it mean, oh my God, I am not good enough. It's all true. All my fears have come true. I must now hide.
So when someone goes into that place, because I mean, like you're describing a lot of people I know, and I have I've had a lot of clients who go into exactly that. There have been times in my life when I've gone into that place. Thankfully, it happens a lot less than it used to, but I do have a few things from my childhood, certain things that happen that I still think, oh my God, crushing embarrassment, but
well, yes.
but that was I won't go into that one right now. but I'm like thinking, well, what can someone do because it's sometimes it's so almost involuntary for people. It's just that's what they do. They go into, like, if something happens, it goes wrong, they go into this huge sort of self-criticism, and they don't.
It's a shame spiral, isn't it?
They don't know how to do anything different. So I'm just kind of curious, what would you recommend if that's what is happening for?
Well, I think the first thing is to just figure out exactly what's going on and whether it is related to the current situation, or are you making it mean something a whole lot more, or have you been triggered, like you say, by a childhood thing? You get in a non-business sense, let's say you've had a couple of dates with someone and then they say they don't want to see you again. Does it mean that no one will ever want to date you, and that all men are bastards, or whatever you want to make it mean? Some people can and in a business way, we can do that. We can say, no one's ever going to want to be my client again. I'll never be a success again. And so it's important to catch yourself and say, well, am I just dealing with this situation or a whole bunch of other stuff? And I think the most important thing to do is to just be really kind to yourself and really look after your own energy. Because often when we are spiraling, it's because we're depleted on some level. And it doesn't have to be on the physical level, although of course, if you're really overtired or you're really hungry, it's much easier, isn't it, just to overreact. So replenishing energy is always number one thing. But I think of energy on lots of different levels. So you've got your physical energy, but you've also got your emotional energy, your spiritual energy, your social energy, your creative energy, all of those sorts of things. And they all matter as well. And so whatever you can do to top up your energy, it's about sort of retreating, taking care of yourself, and then calmly saying, okay, what do I want to do about this? And then brushing it off and going, okay, it's not such a big deal. In the same way that you might if you had a child, who'd, I don't know, had a crappy sports match, and you'd say, come on, come home, I'll make you a nice dinner, let's have a hug, let's watch a nice movie. And then when all that was done, you'd say, so how are you feeling about the match now? And they'd go, well, I'm probably not going to get kicked off the team, am I? We were all out, we were all a bit bad today, and never mind, I'll try again next week. It's kind of taking that sort of position with yourself. And it is hard as adults, but sometimes I think as well with shame stories, and I know Brené Brown talks about this as being like the big way to smash through shame, is that we have to share our stories with others, but not just anyone, in a really safe space with someone you can absolutely trust, who's not going to try and fix you, who's not going to judge you, who's just going to say, gosh, yeah, I'm really sorry, that does sound painful, and I love you anyway, and thanks for sharing with me. And that sharing of the shame, I find that it then just gets embarrassed and slinks off and it's gone. But it's when our secrets or our shame get more powerful the more that we keep them inside and don't share them.
Absolutely. Wow. That's really powerful. It's really powerful. So there's a lot there for people listening. If they go into those kind of places, that they need to really just be conscious of what's happening to them in that moment, and be conscious of what they're saying to themselves, and start to be kinder, like learn how to be kinder, and understand that this is just, you know, this is a learning experience. It's something that went wrong this time, but there's another opportunity to do it again and to do it differently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And resilience really is about that ability to recover quite quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, it comes it's just absolutely essential that we take care of ourselves, because
Absolutely.
you can't bounce back when you're exhausted. You can't keep pushing through. You have
Absolutely.
to. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, when I hear you talk, it reminds me of a few years ago when my funnel broke, and I basically just overnight had no income coming in. I had a launch that I was expecting to make, you know, $60,000 from, and ended up making zero. And I had all the costs involved that I'd already spent. I'd spend $5,000 in ads, you know, more than 5,000 in ads going out. And I just felt like a complete failure. And it took me a good year to actually overcome it.
Wow.
And you know, when you're sort of coaching people on how to grow their business, what I was saying to myself is, well, look what's happened to your business. How can you be coaching people on how to grow theirs? And it was like, what now when I look back, I think, thank God I went through what I did then, because what I've learned as a result of it has actually enabled me to really help a lot of people during lockdown, because I went through losing my business and then finding the way forwards. And it took me a lot longer than I would have wanted in my head. In reality, it probably didn't take that long, but in my head, it took me a lot longer. But actually, during lockdown, it meant that I was able to respond straight away. I was able to do webinar to webinar, help people, because I knew the process I'd gone through eventually that had led me to get the business moving again. And actually now it's like, I needed to go through that. If that hadn't happened, that was a crucial thing that I needed to move my business forward.
Exactly. So, and often the things that we might feel the most ashamed about are our greatest strengths.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're still in the middle of it, you can't see that would ever be true. But I do know now as well that when people come across me for the first time and they hear just, you know, parts of what I've been through or survived or got through, they're like, oh, okay, she's someone who might actually know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Nobody sits there going, oh, well, you're a complete failure then. I'm definitely not going to listen to you. Yet we tell ourselves that even though it's okay for other people to use what they've been through and when things went wrong as real, you know, wisdom and strengthening things, that we can't do that ourselves. But it's not true. We can. And in fact, we should.
Yeah. And you know, and you've actually been saying that when we share our vulnerability, we actually bring people towards us. We connect more with people. So as business owners, sharing our vulnerability is part of what allows the people that need our help to be able to actually connect with us more. So I'm seeing a lot of lovely comments going past, and I know I'm missing some of them because I only get a bit of it that I can see of the comments I can see. So I'm just going to read out a few of what the things. So Nancy is saying, hilarious chat, loving this segue into the hair world. And Tamsin Asta is saying hello. Great to have Tamsin here.
It's so nice to see you.
And Graham is saying, Harriet, love your comment about showing your imperfections, bringing the right people to you. So inspiring. So it works for men as well as women, even though we've met women a lot. It's definitely not exclusive.
Well, I only work with women, but I know that we're all just human beings. Absolutely. So yeah.
Absolutely. And Nancy is saying, so echo what you say, Shelley, going through burnout cost me a few years. So I thought, but now I see what a gift it is in my mission to support empowering women. Beautiful. Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, when we're going through the difficult stuff, we don't realize that actually we have to go through that because then it's going to lead us to have this amazing gift. And we can't see almost like the universe's plan. Sometimes I have this moment where I'm just in awe of the way the universe is at work, it's almost like when I step back, I start to get that bigger view that shows me that all these obstacles, challenges, they're actually completely core and important part of the journey. You start to realize that the good stuff wouldn't be able to happen, or some of the really amazing stuff that then happens, it just wouldn't have happened without that struggle. And so the imperfection is part of it. The difficulties, the challenges, the problems is part of that whole overall journey, and actually ends up being the miracle that we can share with our customers and our clients.
Yeah, completely. They want to know that we're human.
Yeah.
Because then it gives them permission to be the human as well. They're terrified that if we seem perfect and we've always got it all together, that they're going to have to be like that as well. And that's not a good basis for a really good, successful working relationship, I don't think.
Absolutely. So Claire's also mentioned something. She's saying definitely resonate with the imposter syndrome. Definitely what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I wanted to just ask you another question. And I'm conscious of time, but I'm going to ask this question before we go to everyone else's questions. It's just, what do you do on a daily basis, and what would you recommend your clients do on a daily basis to really support their mindset being in a really positive place? Because this is the work bit that most of us don't read. The bit at the bottom
the
of
daily
the page.
grind.
Yeah, the daily grind. Those people that have that amazing energy all the time, and they're just
yes,
they're warm and fluffy and gorgeous all the time. So what happens?
Well, I think one of the first things is that you do have to put your own mask on first. That is what you have to do. Because you cannot give and you cannot make the impact you want to make in the world if you don't have the energy to do that. So it's about making sure that you've eaten, making sure that you've had plenty of water. I mean, it's just really simple stuff. I have this giant jug on my desk. Cost me £8 in Waitrose. Getting enough sleep, keeping your influences into your life supportive, having good people around you. I have some daily practices, or maybe not every day, but I would say every day I will either or both journal and meditate at the beginning of the day. I walk, I get out in nature. Sometimes I don't take my phone with me. I take complete time away. And I also stay really focused on the big picture. So, when I said right at the beginning, I'm creating a world where it doesn't occur to women that they or their bodies aren't good enough, where they know, accept and celebrate their true value. I have that printed on my business cards, and I have it in front of me, as well as, I mean, you can't, you see that, right? And I have it on my shelf in front of me with my awards, my many awards. So I never lose touch with why. And I think that we have to get out of our own way. We have to stop thinking it's about us, and we have to focus on serving and the difference we want to make in the world. Because when it's about us, then the not good enough stuff gets in the way and it matters. When it's about whose life can I improve, what difference can I make today, it's really easy. It doesn't matter whether we're good enough or not. We're just going to go and make that difference. So I think the staying in touch, you've got to take care of yourself, but also so that you can really, really focus, be in touch with why are you doing this? What is that big change that if you're lying on your deathbed and you've not helped some of that or all of that come true, that you're going to feel like you've got regrets.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's some brilliant advice. And what I know is that you have an amazing kit that can help people with overcoming their mindset issues and really moving forwards and becoming unstoppable. And I love the name of it. I think it's gorgeous. So I'm going to let you introduce it.
Thank
I
you.
think everyone that's listening should order it, by the way.
Oh,
Just,
thank
yeah,
you.
no,
That's so lovely of
absolutely.
you. And actually, if Tamsin's still online, I know she's used it, so she can give her
Ah,
own thoughts on it. So it's called the Warrior Queen's Battle Kit, and the tagline is "Conquer your inner world, so you can have anything you want." And this is an emotional well-being DIY kit. And the reason it's called the Warrior Queen's Battle Kit is because the Warrior Queen is the energy behind my personal development brand, which is called Self Love and Sass. And it's all, the Warrior Queen is, I think, she's the archetype, the energy for right now, because she's all about fighting for the greater good. She's not about capitalism or me, an accumulation of things for herself. She's about, what does the world need? What is my vision for the greater good? And then fighting and standing up for what she believes in. But she knows that in order to do that, she's got to take care of herself, and she's got to take care of her inner world, her physical energy, her emotional energy. She's got to understand her inner world, all of that. So the kit, and the feedback I've had is that it's very easy to implement. Apart from one thing, it's all one-page stuff.
oh,
So it's
great.
very easy to digest, and it's the kind of thing that you could just sit down in an evening and get a huge gain from, and then know which bits you need for the future. So there's a 20-minute video training in there on understanding your emotions and your unconscious patterns, so that your emotional world, instead of things being emotions to run from and your worst enemies, they become your greatest allies.
Ah.
Then there's a list of 20 plus ways to protect your sanity, which is basically a posh way of, or fancy way of saying self-care. And I promise I do not mention baths or candles, okay? It's much better than baths or candles. Nothing gets me more annoyed than the whole baths and candles self-care brigade. I mean, it does have its place, but it's not the whole deal by any stretch. You know, this is where we talk about things like boundaries and toxic stuff and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Then there's a one-page list of journal prompts. So if you are spinning out of control, you're feeling triggered, you're feeling quite freaked out, you can just pick any of those questions and just journal on them for 10 minutes, and it will really help you to understand what's going on for you and to just disarm that trigger.
Lovely.
So that you're then back in a state of calm. And then there's affirmations that help people to accept their inner world and give themselves permission to have a challenging inner world, and know that's part of being human. And then there's a few really lovely bonuses that are about the Warrior Queen. So there's a one-page PDF that describes who she is and her energy and all of that. There's a Spotify playlist of feisty songs. There's a 5-minute meditation, and then there's an interview with one of my mentors all about the Warrior Queen and what she's about and why she's the archetype for right now. And yeah, so it's all very digestible and very much pick and choose what you need at any given moment.
Oh, it sounds fantastic. So I'm just going to pop the details of how you can get hold of it into
Brilliant.
the comment section for you guys, just where this video is playing.
Thank you, Shelley. That's so lovely of you that you've got that to hand.
Yeah,
you're more organised than I am. You're always so organised.
Although I do have to copy it again, that's the only thing. I can copy and paste it. And guys, if you have any questions you want to ask, please pop them in now into the comment section. And yeah, so I can ask Harriet your questions. So Nancy is asking one. She's already, thank you, Nancy. She's already saying, can you say something about why you choose to work with women? So she's curious about that.
Why do I choose to work with women? Yeah. Well, firstly, I am a woman.
It helps.
Yes. And I have had a few male clients, and I do very occasionally take on male clients. My whole life experience has been, so before I retrained in coaching and left my banking career, I'd been mentoring young women for 10 years already voluntarily and helping them turn their lives around. And I've just found that because of my own life experience and my own journey, that I work best with women. And as a woman, I really understand women's issues. And it's not to say that I don't like men or I don't want to help men. And I do have lots of men in my group, and I have men who've bought the battle kit and who love it. and I have 2 sons myself. It's just that I feel that that's where I can make the biggest difference. And I think as well, in the whole not good enough thing, yes, lots of men don't feel good enough. In fact, not feeling good enough has been linked with the high prevalence of male suicide, actually, which is so it's you know, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. However, it's something that women, I feel, in terms of inequality in the world, because I'm a bit of an activist in my spare time, it's something that's a major issue, and I think the world will be a much better place when more women feel good enough, and the power structures shift and stuff like that. So yeah, before I go on a massive rant about political structures, I think I'll leave it there. I think I've said enough.
Oh, I think that's great. I think that's great. So I can't see any other questions at the moment, but just to point everyone to your warrior queen toolkit. I need to get it the right way around. Warrior queen toolkit. You know, it's not expensive, and you know, it's just like, for me, it's just that resource that's just going to like support you with like getting your mindset into that positive place. And if people would like to actually just contact you more direct than that, Harriet, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
I would just say for them to go and have a look on my website, although that is corporate facing, so that, but that's okay. There's ways to get in touch with me via my website, which is just my full name.com. Or they can reach out to me on social media. They can find me on LinkedIn. They can find me on Facebook. I've got a free group called Harriet's in a Circle where I support people. So people just want to get to know me a bit more. That's a great place to do that. And then there's, you know, Instagram. I've got my fast growing new brand, Self Love and Sass. So yeah, it's loads of places people can find me. I don't keep myself hidden. I'm not a secret.
Fantastic, brilliant. And you know, I think that this is something that I'm really conscious of. You know, when I'm running my 5-day challenges, like the one I've got coming up, I'm really conscious that a lot of people coming into that 5-day challenge have a lot of nerves and anxiety about being visible online, you know, posting, even sending a message to their ideal clients. And I am definitely going to point them back to you, Harriet, and to your warrior battle warrior battle toolkit. I'm sorry, my
don't worry. It's the warrior queen's battle kit.
Warrior queen's battle kit. It's a good thing I haven't had anything to drink.
Yeah, it's not meant to be a tongue twister, but maybe it is.
But yeah, I'm definitely going to point them to your resource, because there is so much in there that is going to like be that kind of kickstart way of, you know, just getting more conscious of what we're saying to ourselves and how we can change those negative thoughts and become more confident in ourselves. So
yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a really great interview. I have this feeling we could talk for hours.
We definitely could.
We probably need to do another part 2. And
we can at some point, and even if you think your peeps need some support with this in your challenge, I'm happy to come and share anything you think would help. That would be brilliant. That'd be amazing. And just a big thank you to everyone who joined us. I can see there's a lot of people listening in, and thank you so much for being so engaged, to all you guys. I have got another interview coming up on Tuesday when we'll be talking to the lovely Sarah Price on Tuesday. Oh, I know, we're going to be talking all about PR. So it's basically, I got you sold. She's amazing. She's really amazing. They're not feeling good enough, so you can get into the PR and the publicity bit. Now you can sell yourself. There we go. Exactly. On to the next thing. Fantastic. So big thank you to everyone who joined us, and thank you again, Harriet. This has been amazing. You're welcome. All right. Bye, guys. Bye.